Hi everyone. To prepare you for the critique of your research article on Wednesday, I'd like to use this study, Whole Language Teaching as Practiced by Kindergarten Teachers, to kind of walk you through the steps and, in a sense, model for you what you'll need to do. But before I start that, I wanted to highlight the structure of a published research article, which is this is very typical and rarely changes from study to study. To start, first of all, I want to let you know that this came out of a sort of a text, so that that's why you have up here Article 3. But down here in the abstract is actually the real reference from where this particular article came. And you want to, always looking at the reference is a very good way of getting a sense of the quality of the research study. And making sure that it's peer-reviewed and scholarly. So we'll start with the title, which Whole Language Teaching is Practiced by Kindergarten Teachers. You get a sense that it is a qualitative study. Secondly, you want to take a look at the authors of the study and their affiliations. So you see that two of them are from universities, and one of the authors is from an elementary school. Also, you see that Kostelnik, Black, and Taylor are not in alphabetical order, and this is very important because Kostelnik is the lead author on this, and it shows that she really had gets most of the credit for the article. So the order of the authors is very critical. Oftentimes, authors will just put their names in alphabetical order anyway, and you don't really know who is the primary person who worked on it. But in this case, we know that it's Joyce. Okay, next is the abstract, and the abstracts show you a lot. First of all, here what I picked up right away is a small sample of rural. So we know it's small sample, okay, that it takes place in a rural area. Next, what's interesting also is the fact that these instruments were used, and I'm always eager to see if an instrument's been attached or not to an article, because you can always use that. No sense in reinventing the wheel. You can always adapt instruments in qualitative research. And what's really interesting, of course, are the results. And what I pick up right away is this sort of disconnect between what they, in terms of their findings, this disconnect between what teachers say or what they know and whether or not they actually implement the model, which they apparently don't. So we're looking at what they know, which is a variable, and what they do, another variable, and there is this disconnect. So this is an interesting structure in terms of what the findings, the research problem is, and what the findings are. Okay. Next, you'll see, let me just zoom in a little bit to get the whole page. Here is the, well, here is the introduction to the article, and it includes the, so again, sorry, I'm not getting the whole thing here. Well, you see from the beginning, seldom, to method, is the introduction, which includes an article length mini lit review. So, and it's very short. Next, this last paragraph is very key in a research article. I don't know why this is all highlighting, but it doesn't matter. This paragraph here, because typically the paragraph before the method section is where you will find the purpose of the research or the research questions, and typically it is located here. Now, next, the next page. So there's a nice section here on the methodology. The next section, the results. So you see right away, because it's a qualitative study, there are some actual quotes that are used in the study. So you always in a results section want to see if the actual data, make sure that the data has been incorporated, whether it is qualitative or quantitative. And the next section here is the discussion section. And if you're pressed for time and want to get a sense of whether or not this is going to be useful to you, reading the discussion section is probably a really good idea. And also, too, here we have an implications section. Not all articles will have implications, but it acts sort of as a conclusion. Discussion and conclusions are often put together. But what's nice about an implications section is there are typically implications for research, as you see right here on the next page. And at this stage in your research, when you're thinking about refining your research topic, reading the implications for research is really a good idea because it often gives you ideas for how to refine your topic, what's being called for in the field. Next, after the implication section are the references. References are really important to look at. Let me zoom in here. Because references will be helpful for you in terms of your own research, looking for articles that you can use for your research or your literature review. Again, this is not APA style, and I'll ask you why. I'm not going to tell you. And you'll notice that everything's in alphabetical. All the authors are in alphabetical order. And when you have multiple authors, you see that the most recent comes first. Also, again, when you have multiple authors on one study, you can see that, well, this is in alphabetical order, but you would never, ever want to change the order of authors ever for your reference list. So what I also liked about this particular study was the Appendix A and Appendix B, which the authors have attached. These are the actual instruments that they used. This is a checklist observation form in which the researchers used this in their observation, and we'll be talking a lot more about instruments. And here you have the focus groups, the interview schedule, or the focus group questions. So, as I mentioned, there's no use in reinventing the wheel if some of these questions would be useful to you, or this type of observation schedule. You can always use them in your own study, proposed study, and adapt them as long as you give credit to the authors.